I'm Lucy Salcido Carter, Public Policy Director with the California Association of Nonprofits, or Cal Nonprofits for short. This is a webinar on how to apply for the California Relief Grant. The focus is on nonprofit applicants specifically. Cal Nonprofits is a policy alliance of more than 10,000 organizations and the voice of the nonprofit community in California. We advocate on behalf of nonprofits in the state with legislators, state administration, and others to protect and enhance the ability of nonprofits to serve our communities. Nonprofits are eligible for these grants that we're going to be talking about today because of the advocacy that we and our allies have done. We are a program partner for the grant program, and we're here to guide nonprofits through the application process. The focus of the webinar today is on nonprofit applicants. The Grant Relief Program's Round 4, which is grants for nonprofit cultural institutions only, is still underway. I know that Sue and Janet will talk more about that in a little bit. With an extended deadline of Friday at 5 p.m., Round 5, which is open to all nonprofits and small businesses that fit the criteria, begins tomorrow. You don't have to use a partner portal to apply for Round 4, but we hope that for Round 5, you will choose to apply through the Cal Nonprofits portal and show the strength of the nonprofit network. For those of you who have been discouraged from applying or from completing your application in the past and you haven't quite finished your application, remember that there's a lot more money now in the grant program thanks to the advocacy of a lot of us than there was in those first two rounds. There's now $2.1 billion in the overall grant program. So there's a much greater chance of getting a grant than there was in rounds 1 and 2. And if you're a cultural institution, you still have time to apply in round 4 or to complete an application that you started. So we can go to the next slide. Yes, or no, the slide before that. Thanks, sorry about that. Again, I want to remind you that everyone registered for today's webinar will get links to the recording of this webinar and to the slides. And if you have questions about the program and application process after this webinar, you can reach out to Cal Nonprofits' awesome program manager for the grant program, and that is Sue Sigler. And her contact information is here. You can also call the Lendistry helpline, and that information is included here. Lendistry is the intermediary organization that is running the grant program. We'll put this contact information in the chat box for you. It'll be in our follow-up email, and I think it appears even maybe later in one of the other slides. So with that, I want to turn things over to Sue Sigler, Program Manager for the grant program at Cal Nonprofits. Sue.
Thank you, Lucy, and welcome everyone. We're delighted that you're here with us today. Christine, next slide, please. And we've got a slide here on some resources. You'll see the slide again at the end of the presentation. And we want to let you know not to worry too much about taking notes today because we're going to go through things fairly rapidly. There's a lot of information to communicate. But if you want to see even more information, we strongly encourage everyone to visit our website at calnonprofits.org. You can take a look at our FAQs, our frequently asked questions, which will give you everything that you need in order to be able to make your application or to find out what's happening with your application, answer your questions, etc. You can also visit careliefgrant.com, which is the Lendistry site. Lendistry is the company that was selected by the Cal Office of the Small Business Advocate to build the website and administer the program. Excuse me. And there is plenty of information there as well. You can find language guides, so help in other languages, as well as how-to videos and a lengthy application guide. So tons of information available to help you with your application. And the application is not terribly intuitive for nonprofits. So we do really suggest that you take a look at something before trying to fill it out. For those of you who might qualify for round 4, which is for selected arts and cultural institutions, you can see that we have great partnerships with Californians for the Arts and the California Association of Museums, and their information is there too. So round 4 applicants, we encourage you to contact our partners as well. As Lucy mentioned, you'll get a copy of the slides and a link to the recording, which will go up on our YouTube channel when by the close of business tomorrow. And I want to be sure that if you are here and you are, I want to be sure to say that this presentation is for nonprofit organizations. There are a lot of similarities with small businesses and for-profit organizations, but we really strongly encourage you to visit careliefgrant.com, and you'll see there a list of partners that you can choose that specialize in working with small businesses, as we specialize in working with nonprofits. And one of the things that I want to be sure to say is there are fraudsters out there, so please beware. careliefgrant.com is the correct website. If you see a .org suffix or a different spelling, please avoid those websites because, like I said, there are some copycat fraudsters out there. Next slide, please. I want to touch briefly on round 4 basics, and you can always visit our website for much more thorough information. For those of you who are qualifying arts and cultural organizations, you may apply in round 4. If you qualify, in fact, you must apply in round 4. And you can find out if you qualify by taking a look at the FAQs on our website. Not all arts and cultural organizations qualify in this round. You want to note that the deadline was extended from yesterday all the way to Friday at 5 o'clock. We also want to note that round 4 has a unique application. I have talked to a lot of folks who have tried to go back in and modify an application from an earlier round. You cannot do that. You have to start a new application in round 4 using the link to the round 4 application, and you can get that on our website at calnonprofits.org. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn, and we have I mentioned Lendistry, the company that is administering the grant program on behalf of the state. And we have with us today Janet Perez-Shensky from Lendistry, who's going to talk to us a little bit about how the application cycles are working. Janet?
Yes, thank you so much, Sue. So if you already applied in your nonprofit in rounds 1 and round 2, you can reapply for round 4 if you're an arts or cultural nonprofit organization. If you applied in round 1 and round 2, you do not need to reapply in round 5. So let me say that one more time. If you're an arts and cultural organization, you have an opportunity to apply for round 4. You must submit a new application if you previously applied in round 1 and round 2, and you have until this Friday. If you're not an arts and cultural organization, you can apply if you are an arts and if you are an arts and cultural organization, you need to submit a new application for round 4. If you're not, but you applied in round 1 and round 2, your application will be automatically considered for round 5 and round 6, and you do not need to reapply. If you're a first-time applicant in round 4 and you're not selected, you have to reapply in round 5. Next slide, please. So all applicants, are you on the wait list? Yes, if you got an email saying you're on the wait list, and then if you log in and you see your application status say awaiting selection process, if you see that when you log in, that means that you are on the wait list. And so I encourage you to upload your documents, and if you can, connect your banking information, but that is not required. You'll be required to submit documentation once the Lendistry team member reaches out to you asking for the required documents. Next slide, please. Should you apply in round 5? Only if you're a new applicant, so nonprofit and small business who's new, you haven't applied in previous rounds. And applicants who applied for the first time in round 4, you will go ahead and apply for round 5. From those who should not apply in round 5 are applicants who are waitlisted in round 1, round 2. Your application will be automatically considered for round 5 if you are waitlisted for round 1 and round 2. So you do not need to reapply. You do not need to submit a new application. You'll be automatically considered for round 5. Fraud alert. Applying is completely free. Communications will come directly from Lendistry. When you're getting an email from Lendistry, just ensure that it does end in lendistry.com. That's really important. And Lendistry's website, in partnership with the state, is careliefgrant.com. If you can see there, it's not plural, it's just grant, singular, .com, not .org.com. Next slide. Eligibility for this new round 5, 501c3, C6, or 19. Our corporations, unincorporated associations, or cooperatives file a 990 informational tax returns. For your 990s, if you file a 990N, just ensure that you have your financials ready. If you're from round 4 and applied for round 4 and you do not have your tax returns, we will we will put you on hold until May 17th, which is the deadline to apply for to submit your tax returns. Annual revenues, 1,000 minimum to 2.5 million, in operation on or before June 1st, 2019. You have a physical address in California, and you remain open or have a clear reopening plan. And then I'll turn it over to Sue. Sue, I believe you're on mute.
That will help, won't it? So I know that following who should, keeping up and following with who should apply and when and in what round is very confusing. So please visit the FAQs on our website at calnonprofits.org, because that will clarify for you if you have questions. So next slide, please. Unfortunately, we have some organizations that are not eligible. And so those would include, if you're a department of another organization, we frequently see universities, particularly with arts and cultural museums or other programs that are part of the university. You need to have your separate 501c3. So please, so those organizations, unfortunately, are not eligible. Also, unfortunately, fiscally sponsored organizations are not eligible to apply. Again, you need to have your own 501c3, C6, or C19. And religious institutions may qualify if they are providing significant social services. Please refer to our FAQs, because it's very clear in there. You'll be able to find out very quickly if your religious institution qualifies for funding or not. As you, next slide, please. As you prepare to start your application, it's important to remember that there are a lot of tech tips. And the most basic one is that you have to use Google Chrome as your browser. The application will not work well with other browsers. And there are a lot more tech tips included in our FAQs at calnonprofits.org. So again, we can't stress enough, please visit our website and check out the FAQs. As you're preparing for your application, next slide. Again, all of this appears on our FAQs on our website, so I'm not going to linger here too much, but you're going to need documents. And the way that you submit your documents, please don't send them to me. Please don't send them to Lendistry by email. After you fill out part 1 of your application, then you will have an opportunity to upload your documents onto your application. As Janet mentioned, for rounds 4, 5, and 6, a federal 2019 Form 990 is required. It must be from 2019. And I get a lot of questions about what if your fiscal year isn't the same as the calendar year. That does not matter, because when you file at the top of your form, it will say the tax year that you're filing for, and you want to choose the one from 2019. If you file the 990N or the postcard, it does not list your gross revenue. And we have to be able to verify that your gross revenue is between 1,000 and 2.5 million for most of the rounds. Let's note that round 4, for arts and cultural institutions, does not have a revenue cap. So it can be an organization of any size over $1,000 in annual revenue. And so then you'll need some alternate forms of documentation to show if you file the 990 postcard or the 990N, you'll need some additional forms of documentation to show that you meet the income categories. And some of those are listed in our FAQs. We'll guide you through that as well. And one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, where do I find the application certification form? There's a link in our FAQs. You can find it right on the front page of at careliefgrant.com. The application certification form has a set of things that you initial and then sign, verifying that your application is true and correct. So you get that form online. Next slide, please. You'll also be asked in your application to provide the following information, and that would be your gross revenue and your expenses from 2 different points in time. That would be Q2 and Q3 from 2019 and 2020. The purposes of asking for that is for comparison year over year to see how you were COVID impacted. Many organizations experienced a precipitous loss of revenue between 2019 and 2020. Other organizations may have had extraordinary expenses in order to keep operating in the COVID environment. So there will be a comparison of those 2 quarters, that is April 1st through September 30th in both 2019 and in 2020. As I mentioned earlier, you will also be looking for the gross revenue for 2019, and that is shown on your 990 if you file the long form or the easy. And if you don't, you will need additional documentation to document your annual income. Next slide, please. So now it's time to start your application, since you've got your information and your documents gathered. And this is what the first page of the application looks like. I want to be sure to remind everyone that there are 2 separate application links for round 4 and the other one for all the other applications. For round 4, you do not need a partner, and there is a unique application link. It will take you to the first page that looks like this. For rounds 5 and round 6, please visit us at calnonprofits.org, or you can go to the Lindustry site at careliefgrant.com. You select a partner and you link to your application through your partner's portal. When you get to your application, it is very important to check that you are on the right form of application. You can see the red arrow here is pointing to this application is for the arts and cultural nonprofits. And when round 5 opens up tomorrow, you will see a different colored box for the round 5 application that will indicate that it is for nonprofit organizations. And of course, there's a separate application for small businesses. Very important, please verify that you are on the right form of application, because if you complete an application on the wrong form, it cannot be processed by Lindustry. Next slide, please. So then, you're on the prior slide. Once you've verified that you are on the right application, and you're going to hit the Apply Now button, and you're going to see a screen that looks like this. And you can see that red arrow to start your application. You click here to apply. You can ignore the box on the right. And so if you are starting a new application, either in round 4 or round 5, you go directly to click here to apply. If you already have an application in the system, you must use a different email address to make another application. This is very important, because otherwise it will recognize your second application as a duplicate, and we don't want to do that. So it's very important that for each application that you make, if you have to apply in more than one round, please use a different email address, and then remember to monitor that email address, and in particular your junk mail and your spam filter for any communications from Lindustry, because that's how you'll hear when your grant is being processed. Next slide, please. So here we have the first screen that you'll see when you get to your application, and this one is pretty easy to fill out. It just requests your basic information, and So yeah, one of the things that I want to note about this application, I get asked a lot about how can I save a copy of my application, or how can I look at the application in advance before I start to fill it out. So let's take those one at a time. You will not be given an opportunity to print out a copy of your application when it is complete. If you wish to save your work so that you can look at it at a later date, you need to take screenshots of each screen that you complete. And if you want to take a look at the application in advance, you can go to careliefgrant.com and look at the nonprofit and the arts and cultural application guide, which will take you through page by page. Next slide.
This is
Yes.
Lucy.
Yes.
I know you're going to go into the nitty gritty around the application process, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you want to take any questions about eligibility and things like that before we dig into the application, or would you just like to take all the questions at the end?
We can certainly do that. Thank you, Lucy. I'm guessing you're getting questions about eligibility in the Q&A box.
Yes, and we had a lot of questions that people submitted with the registration too, and you and Janet have answered most of them, but there are still a lot of questions from people who applied in the past, and I really appreciate the way you all went through the whether you have to use a portal or not, and whether you have to reapply. We do have some applicants who applied as for-profit institutions, and in some cases, they're getting told that they're waitlisted, even though they are nonprofits and they completed the wrong application.
Okay.
So in some cases, they're not hearing anything. So they just want to know what to do. Should they reapply in round 5 as a nonprofit?
Thank you for that. If you use the wrong form of application, yes, you must reapply. The reason that you might still be getting communication, even though you submitted on the wrong form of application, is because your application is sitting in the system. The computer algorithm will select the applications in order to be processed and reviewed. Until that happens, you will continue to get communications from Lendistry that you are on the waiting list. So once your application is selected to be reviewed, that's the first time that a human is going to put eyes on it and see if all your documents are correct, and start verifying the information in your application. So if you know that you used the wrong form of application, please go ahead and reapply in the round that you qualify for. That would be, if you are a qualifying arts and cultural organization, that would be now through Friday in round 4. And if you are not a qualifying arts and cultural organization, that would be beginning tomorrow. And please remember to use the correct link, 2 different links for round 4 and all the other rounds.
Thank you. And we had a question about volunteer nonprofits. Are they eligible for this grant program?
Yes, there's no requirement for you to have staff. The only requirement is that you have at least, that you meet the income guidelines of between 1,000 and 2.5 million per year in gross revenues, with the exception of round 4, of course.
Okay. And could you just quickly review what the funding amounts are for each revenue?
Sure, we're going to come up on that in a
Okay,
moment.
well, let's wait. Yeah, let's wait.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I did look at the slides, but okay. And again, where is the best place to find out what the NACES codes are for qualifying for round 4 for the cultural institutions?
So visit our website at calnonprofits.org. Take a look at our FAQs. There is a guide there to the codes that Lucy is referring to. If you haven't seen this yet, are NAICS codes, that stands for the North American Industrial Coding System. And the legislation that created round 4 listed specific NACES codes that are eligible to apply. If you don't know your NACES code, or if you're wondering if your organization fits into the listed NACES codes, there's also a place to give a call to the hotline at the U.S. Census Bureau, who will talk to you and help you figure out which NACES code is right for you. That is not only particular to round 4, all applicants need to give their NACES code, but in round 4, there are only certain NACES codes that are eligible to apply.
Thank you. And just a couple more. I know you want to have plenty of time to go through the application itself. If an applicant has already applied as a for-profit organization, can they submit an application for their nonprofit if they have one of each?
Yes, if you have one of you, any individual applicant may submit one small business application and one nonprofit application.
Okay. And then national nonprofits that have field offices in California, are they eligible?
Uh, It depends. The answer is it depends on how you are organized. If you have a separate incorporation and a separate 501c3, then that is eligible. But a shared 501c3 with the parent organization, unless they are located in California, is generally not eligible. And I'm going to ask Janet if you would confirm that I got that right.
Yes, you're correct. And we're verifying the location typically with the tax returns. So that's something to note as well.
Thank you. It is required that the organization have a physical location in California, and that is so Lendistry can verify that there is a physical location associated with the application. Many people close their offices or are working exclusively from home. A home address is acceptable.
Thank you. And then one more for now. If you've applied for the Paycheck Protection Program, Forgivable Loan Program, or if you have done received or applied for another local COVID-19 relief grant, can you apply for one of these grants?
Thanks, Lucy. So if you applied for one of the federal programs like EIDL or the PPP Payroll Protection Program, know that those are federal programs and unrelated to the California Relief Grant Program, which is a state program, which is also unrelated to any county or municipal assistance you may have received. So there is nothing that I know of that would preclude you from applying for all of those programs.
Great. We have a few more, but I know you want to get to the application process, so I'll hold those for later.
Okay, so let's see here. So back to our application. Could we have the next slide, please? So the next screen will ask for your applicant information, and who can be an applicant is a question that I get often. And it's important to note that this application was originally constructed for small businesses and was modified slightly for use in a very short period of time for use by nonprofit organizations. And so some of the questions are not intuitive, and that's why we're here today. So owner details is the applicant will be whoever is authorized by your organization to apply on behalf of the nonprofit. The executive director or CEO, board chair, et cetera, are preferred positions, but you may not have those positions, or you may have development staff who typically submit your application. And so anyone who is authorized may submit an application, but know that Lendistry will want to verify that person's identity. So it's great if that person signs the Form 990 or is listed on the website, some kind of way that Lendistry can verify that the applicant's name is actually associated with the organization. And then also you will see that there is language that refers to ownership. Again, this is a holdover from the small business application. Lendistry understands that nonprofits are not owned by anyone, but you still will be asked to supply the percent of ownership that the applicant has in the organization, and you can just enter 100%. Again, Lendistry knows that no one owns a nonprofit organization. And I also want to be sure to note that whoever is the applicant will also need to provide their personal data. By that, I mean their social security number, date of birth, and a copy of their government issued ID, like a driver's license or a passport. And I get asked, this is unusual for nonprofit organizations to ask this kind of, ask for personal data from a grant applicant. It is uncomfortable for many people, but it is required. The reason for it is to prevent fraud in the program. And the way that it will be used is to verify the identity of the applicant. So, and there, if you have more questions about that, that is also addressed on our website. Next slide, please. You will also notice here that where the red arrow is pointing, that you will that you will be asked to say, does this applicant conform to one of the 4 priorities in the grant application? The 4 priorities are housing, workforce development, childcare, and food provision. And so I get a lot of questions about, well, we're not under one of those 4 priorities. Do we still qualify? And the answer is yes, you still qualify, and it's okay to say, no, we don't fall under the 4 priorities. Your application will still be processed. And so let's go to the next slide. You can see what that drop-down menu looks like. Again, it's okay to say no. You don't have to say yes to that question in order to qualify. Next slide, please. Then you're going to get to a screen that says, how can we help you? And some of these questions are very confusing for nonprofit applicants. So let's review a couple of things. One is that anywhere on the application that you run into a question you don't know how to answer, again, please remember that many of them don't apply neatly to nonprofit organizations. You must choose the thing that is closest because you have to enter an answer into that field in order to be able to move on to the next screen of the application. So, so when you see things that don't quite make sense, know that Lendistry understands that a lot of the things don't quite make sense for nonprofits. But there are some frequently asked questions I'd like to review here. So you'll be asked in a drop-down menu about the purpose of your grant, and it will list types of expenses like payroll or rent or mortgage. You want to choose your area of greatest need. Lendistry understands that grant funds may be used in more than one area of your expenses. You'll be asked to provide the amount requested, and I'll go over that in a moment. But the jobs question are something that I get asked about a lot. So we want to review that. Firstly, that your contractors, your 1099 employees do not count toward the head count that they're asking for here in the number of your employees. And the reason for that is those folks are eligible to apply as a small business on their own behalf. We're also asked to provide how many jobs were retained and how many jobs were created. So please note that the jobs retained equals the number of employees that you had as of 12/31/2020. And the number of jobs created are the number of new jobs that were added during 2020 and or employees recalled. So if at any point you had to lay people off and you were able to recall them, that's what goes in this field as well. And thank you. Next slide, please. This is the drop-down menu that I mentioned for the question about the amount requested. So there are only 3 grant amounts available. They are based on the annual revenue for your organization. If your annual revenue as listed on your 2019 990 form or one of the alternate forms that I mentioned earlier, your revenue must fall between 1,000 and 2.5 million. If you are 1,000 to 100,000, you are eligible for a $5,000 grant. If you are 100,000 to 1 million, you are eligible for a $15,000 grant. And if you are eligible over 1 million to 2.5, again, with the exception of round 4, which has no revenue cap, then you are eligible for a grant of 25,000. I also want to be sure to mention that this grant conceives of funding very differently than the way that nonprofits are used to looking at grants. Ordinarily, we tell someone what we're going to do in the future and then ask for the funding to be able to do that. This grant is conceived as a reimbursement for organizations that were impacted by COVID. So what they are looking for in terms of eligible expenses are from the period of March 1, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. You can find more information about the eligible expenses on the Lendistry site in the application guide or in our frequently asked questions at calnonprofits.org. But eligible expenses tend to fall in the occupancy category, and things like utilities, staff, payroll, insurance, regular operating expenses. I mentioned that the program is conceived of as a reimbursement program. So obviously folks have closed their books on 2020, have paid their bills. And so once you receive your funding, it can be treated as general operating expenses. So you do not need to reopen your books to go back and credit it to expenses from 2020. Next slide, please. On the business demographics, we have a couple of other questions that I want to be sure to mention. The first one, it will ask you, who is your customer base? Are you B2B, B2C, or both? That stands for business to business, business to consumer. And most nonprofits are business to consumer, but not all, but that is something that will help you answer that question appropriately. Then you will be asked questions like, what does your business do? And what type of business is it? And tell us more. Those questions have drop-down menus, and you'll need to choose from the drop-down menu. If the options are quite limited, so most often they don't apply to nonprofit organizations. And so it is perfectly acceptable to choose unknown. And then you can continue to move through the application. This is also the screen where you'll be asked to provide your NACIS code. And lastly, you will be asked on the screen to identify some demographics and characteristics. These apply to the applicant and or the senior management team. So if you are asked if you are a women-led business, or people with disabilities, the ethnicity, et cetera, Lendistry recognizes that that nonprofits don't have one particular owner, so this does apply to the applicant and or the senior management team. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is the last screen that you'll be filling in questions, and so the first one asks if at least 51% of the nonprofit's revenues are derived from services in the 4 priority areas, even though we already answered that on a previous screen. And it is, once again, it is okay to say no. You can, that does not disqualify you. This is also the place where that revenue and expense data that I mentioned earlier, where you'll be asked to enter that in. And we had a question earlier about the other COVID-related grant programs like PPP, EIDL, and anything that might have come from your county or municipality. You'll be asked if you received that funding. Please note that that funding, other COVID relief programs, that funding does not need to be included in your gross revenue figures. And in fact, if you're using your 2019 figures, it couldn't be because there weren't any programs for COVID in 2019. And so there are only 2 opportunities to enter a program in here. So what do you do if you got funding from 3 or more sources? Total them up, add the total into one of these boxes, and then take a Word document and please don't create narrative. There is no narrative associated with this application, but just list out your sources and the amounts that you got and upload that with your other documents on a separate sheet of paper. Next slide, please. Once you have completed all of the fields in part 1 of the application, then you, where that red arrow is pointing, you will type yes into that field. The grayed out box that says continue will turn purple, and then you can continue. It is important to remember that once you get through here, you will also see a purple submit button. Next slide, please. Once you hit that purple submit button, you cannot go back and change anything in your application. So you want to review everything before you hit that submit button, because if you do need to make a change to any information in your application, once you have submitted, that is addressed in the FAQs on our website, what to do about that. And following this, and what I also want to stress is that once you hit that submit button on part 1, you have made an on-time submission. That is the only part of the application that is required to meet the deadline for the round that you're applying in. We will move through the continue to move through the application so that you can upload your documents, but uploaded documents are strongly encouraged with your application, but they are not required with your application to count as an on-time submission. If any or all of your documents are missing, Lendistry will contact you to provide those when your application is selected for review. Next slide, please. Okay, what comes next is you go to upload your documents into your application. Please do not try to send documents to Lendistry or to Cal Nonprofits. They are uploaded. There are instructions on how to do that in our frequently asked questions and also in at careliefgrant.com. In the application guides. There are a lot of instructions available to you on how to upload your documents. The important thing to remember is that you will be given a list. And so, for example, where it says your 990, you want to put your 990 under the 990 category. Your articles of incorporation should likewise go under the correct category. So choose the correct category. If you don't choose the correct category, Lendistry will straighten all that out as they process your application, but what we're really trying to do is make it easy for them so that they can be speedy. We want them to be able to process lots of applications in a short period of time. You will receive emails that will invite you back to check if your documents are uploaded properly. If you're checked and your documents are uploaded properly, you can ignore that. But you will continue to get those emails because, again, Lendistry has a big emphasis on getting things uploaded in advance so they can review your application quickly. If any of your documents are too large to upload, the maximum document size is 15 megabytes. If you're for example, you have a lengthy 990 form and it is over 15 megabytes, you have to separate that into 2 documents and upload each of them. And please title them such that Lendistry will be able to recognize what you've done. So an example would be 2019 990 part 1, 2019 990 part 2. So next slide, please. We're going to return to answering your questions, and I'm going to turn to Lucy in a moment. And next slide, please. We're going to keep this resources slide up on the screen while we're answering questions. So Lucy, what have we got?
Okay, we've got quite a few. So can you please confirm that personal credit checks will not be happening as part of the application process?
As part of the application process, Lendistry will do what's called a soft credit check. It should not affect your credit one way or another. It is for purposes of verifying identity. It is not intended to look at your credit, and the applicant's credit is not an issue in the application process at all.
Okay. And you went over that question about creating new jobs. So a lot of people had questions about whether you have to be creating new jobs to qualify for this grant program.
The answer to that is no. This grant program is designed as a response to COVID times. Most people were not creating jobs in COVID times.
Okay, great. And then there's still some confusion because of the overlapping with rounds 4 and 5. When will people hear about round 4? And should they go ahead and apply for round 5 if they haven't applied for rounds 1 and 2, if they're waiting to hear for round 4?
So I'm going to review all of the rounds again because this is hard to follow. So stay with me for a moment. If you applied,
just a sec, as you review that, can you also say which is a different application and which they have to use the portal?
Sure.
Thank you.
So if you applied in rounds 1 and round 2 and you were waitlisted, you do not need to reapply again unless you are a qualifying arts and cultural organization. If you qualify to apply in round 4, you must apply in round 4, irrespective of whether or not you've applied in the past. If you are not a qualifying arts and cultural organization and you were waitlisted, you do not need to reapply. Your application will automatically move forward to rounds 5 and 6 for consideration. So that's a long-winded way of saying if you're not a qualifying arts and cultural organization, you're already on the wait list, you will remain on the wait list. You don't need to reapply. Remember, please, that all of the rounds require you to use a partner link to the portal to apply, with the exception of round 4. Round 4 is a separate program and thus has a unique application. You can find links to the applications at the Lendistry site, excuse me, and also at Cal on our frequently asked questions and on our homepage at calnonprofits.org. Do not look today for the round 5 application. It will not be available to you until tomorrow when round 5 opens up. If you applied in round 4, you're a qualifying arts and cultural organization, you will not be hearing about your application in time to know if you should reapply in round 5. So let's linger there for a moment. You're a qualifying arts and cultural organization for round 4. If you applied in rounds 1 and rounds 2, in rounds 1 or 2, and you were waitlisted, you must reapply in round 4. But you don't need to reapply in round 5 if you've already got a current application in the system. That will roll forward for consideration automatically in rounds 5 and round 6. If you are a new applicant in round 4, and you need to go ahead and also submit the round 5 application, because of the extension on the deadline, Lendistry will not be able to process round 4 applications in time for you to know whether to apply for round 5 or not. So, and once again, make sure that you're using the right link to the right application for the right round. And if you have questions, please visit our website.
Thank you. That's really helpful. People are curious to know what happened with round 3.
Okay, so let's review the history of the program for a little bit. Let's let's remember that the program was created by the California State Legislature as a response to the deep impacts that small businesses and nonprofit organizations experienced in COVID times. And initially, the legislature provided $500 million to fund the program. And there was an overwhelming response. There was something like well over 350,000 applicants in rounds 1 and round 2, and only about 45,000 of them could be funded with the money that was available. And so the legislature saw that there was an overwhelming demand and then authorized another $2.1 billion into the program. That is why we have the subsequent rounds 3, 4, 5, 6. That is why that's why people have to reapply. It's because there were different statutes that created different rounds of funding, some of them with different requirements. And so round 3, I didn't forget the question. Round 3 was designated strictly for people who were already on the waiting list from rounds 1 and round 2, because there was such a backlog of applications. Round 3 did not accept new applications, but if you want to apply for the first time and you're not an arts and cultural organization on the list, then you can go ahead and apply in round 5, which starts tomorrow and is open through Wednesday, the 31st. It's a short window, just 1 week. So be sure to get your application in for round 5.
Okay, thank you. And people who have submitted an application but want to update it in some way, how do they do that? If there's been an error or they have new information that they want to include, what's the best way to do that?
Please see our frequently asked questions. You need to send an email to Lendistry that includes your application number and the issue that you wish to correct, and you need to include the subject line in your email, finished application, edit request, typed in all capital letters. And that is on the last page of our frequently asked questions on our website at calnonprofits.org.
And if an organization has received a Paycheck Protection Program forgivable loan, can you just review, do they include that in the revenue? I know there is also that separate question about the federal loans. And then an additional question to that, if you have gotten a PPP loan since you completed your application, what should you do?
So let's remember that you're not going to be including any PPP in your gross revenue because we're going to be pulling your gross revenue from 2019. So, as I mentioned when we went through the application, there is a place to list what federal assistance that you have received. If you have received, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Not exclusively federal assistance, any government assistance related to COVID relief should be included in the application for information purposes. And if you have more than one or two sources, you'll need to create a separate list and attach that with your application. And Janet, I'm going to ask if there's anything else that you want to comment on this.
No, I think you covered it all. If you received a PPP loan after receiving the grant, we won't request that information because it wasn't during the period in which you applied for the grant.
Did we get that question answered, Lucy?
Yes, you did.
Great,
Thank you very
great.
much. We have a question about eligibility with regard to nonprofits that have a lot of in-kind assets. If the in-kind assets put them above the $2.5 million cap for all of the rounds except round 4, are they eligible or are they ineligible?
Again, the gross revenue figure is going to be pulled from your 990. If you file the long form, it is line 12. If you file the easy form, it is line 9. That is going to include your gross revenues, and it will include the value of your in-kind gifts. And unfortunately, that cannot be backed out. I get the same question around if you received pass-through fundings. Many organizations received a lot of pass-through funds to share with the people that they serve in 2020 as a COVID response. And we know that if you're administering pass-through funds, it actually costs you money. You don't get to keep any of the money, and it actually costs you money to administer those programs. Unfortunately, pass-through funds cannot be backed out. In-kind gifts cannot be backed out. You need to provide your revenue figures.
And I know you talked about people using different email addresses if they apply again. Is that true for rounds 4 and 5, given that those are different application processes? If they used one email address for round 4, should they use a different email address if they're applying in round 5?
You should use a different email address for any application that you submit. Please don't submit applications using the same email address twice. It will flag it as a duplicate application in the Lendistry system. That would apply also if you were somebody, say, who serves on the board of a nonprofit organization and has a small business, and you're planning to be the applicant on both a nonprofit and a small business application. Please use 2 different email addresses because it doesn't work well in the Lendistry system to have duplicate email addresses.
And if an applicant has received a grant already, can they reapply in rounds 5 or 6?
You can reapply, but you can't be selected for a grant a second time, so I don't recommend it.
Thank you.
One to a customer.
And then we have some people in the webinar who have been trying to log back in to complete an application and have been having trouble logging back in. They're being told that the system doesn't recognize the login information that they're giving. What should they do?
So the first thing to do is to check to make sure that you're using the proper link to get back to your application. If your application was from round 1 or 2, you'll want to go back to the partner portal. If you used Cal Nonprofits as your partner, then your link would be calnonprofits/mylendistry.com. And so if you are a round 4 applicant, you need to go back to the round 4 link to the application. So the first thing is to make sure that you're logging in using the right link. If you have a question about what the right link is, you can go back to the email that you received to reset your password. Once you start filling out an application, when you log out of it, you will receive an email from Lendistry with a temporary password that invites you to come back in and create a permanent password for yourself. So that email has the link. Click on that link to return to your application. Please write down your password and remember it, because you will need it to go back to your application. I've talked to a lot of people who don't remember their passwords, and then you'll have to go back in and reset your password. If you are unable to get back into the system, if you get a message that says user not found or error message, you do need to contact Lendistry directly at that time. We've got, could we see the next slide, please, Christine? And one more. Thank you. There is the telephone number to contact Lendistry is right there. And please remember that there is also a separate helpline for round 4 applicants. There is a separate phone number. But if you can't get back into your application using the proper link and your email and password, then you do need to contact Lendistry for assistance.
Can you talk about what resources are available for people who would prefer to apply in a language other than English?
Yes, please visit careliefgrant.com, and you will see on the homepage there are options for quite a number of other languages.
Okay, great, thank you. Is the application itself, the application form, available in other languages?
I'm gonna ask Janet about that.
Unfortunately, we only have an English version of the application certification.
And then I know we're almost out of time. Just a couple more about timing. Do we know what the timing is for when people will start to hear from round 4? I know you said it won't be in time for the beginning of round 5, which is tomorrow. Do we have a sense of when folks will be hearing?
Yes, we learned just this morning that the round 4 notifications will begin going out on March 31st. And round 5 notifications will begin to go out on April 5th. We do not have a deadline for when the last notification will go out. What happens is that Lendistry will start processing applications. Not all applicants are going to qualify. And so as people drop out of the process, they will return back to the waiting list to select the next applicants to process. So the applications continue to be processed until the funds available in that round are exhausted.
So just one more quick one. I know we're almost out of time. Some people are hearing, which is really great, and but they're not exactly sure how to interpret what they're hearing. So they're getting a couple of different messages, but one is selected pending validations, and the other one is awaiting selection process. So could you just unpack those a little bit and say what they mean, please?
I'd be happy to. So when you log back into your application, which is the best way to check and see what the status of your application is, you'll see a screen that will have a message in red. If it says awaiting selection process, that means that your application has not yet been chosen for review, and you remain on the waiting list. If you see selected pending validation, it means that your application is currently under review and that the Lendistry staff are working to verify the information that you provided.
Okay, well, thank you to both of you. I know you have some closing comments, right?
Sure. Christine, could we go to the prior slide, please? So I want to give a big thanks to my co-presenters today, Janet Perezhensky from Lendistry, our own public policy director, Lucy Salcido-Carter, and want to give a big thanks to our support staff, Christina Dragonetti and Christine Metropolis, who keep us running, and as well to Chelsea, who's our captioner today. Want to remind everybody to watch your email for a link to the recording. And next slide, please. And one more, thanks. And we want to remind you that we are calnonprofits.org. We are an application partner in the California Relief Grant Program. You do not need to be a member of Cal Nonprofits in order to select us as your application partner. But of course, we hope that you'll consider joining. There's lots of reasons. As Lucy mentioned early on, we are a policy alliance that works to make life better for nonprofit organizations and the people that we serve. So, and lastly, please visit our website at calnonprofits.org. Look at our frequently asked questions. I promise they will help you get through the application much easier. Thanks to everybody for attending today, and have a great day.